Bienvenidos a Soy Violento, Soy Macabro Podcast. Yo soy Ali.
Y yo soy Dee.
Y hoy Dee nos contará de un caso que sucedió en la Ciudad de México.
The discovery of a dismembered body left Mexico City in shambles. But once they found out who committed the murder and their previous criminal charges, you wonder, is there a way that this crime could have been prevented? After 8 years, the victim and his family received the proper justice. This is the tragic case of Allan Carrera Cuellar and his wife, psychologist Maria Alejandra Lafuente Casco.
Advertencia: la información de este caso puede ser desencadenante para algunos. Tengan en cuenta que algunos de estos casos pueden involucrar menores de edad, abuso, violación o violencia. Escuchen con precaución.
Warning: the information on this case can be triggering to some. Please be advised that some of these cases may involve children, abuse, rape, and violence. Listen with caution.
On November 6, 2014, a torso without limbs was found at the corner of Anahuac and Quintana Roo in the popular neighborhood of Roma in Mexico City. Later that day, the upper and lower limbs were located in other regions of Mexico City inside of plastic bags. What left authorities puzzled was the fact that the hands, the feet, and the head of the mutilated person was nowhere to be found. After much investigation, authorities confirmed that the DNA taken from the torso was in fact of Allan Carrera Cuellar. In 2013, Allan's daughter was actually a patient of Dr. Maria Alejandra Lafuente Casco. According to different documents, Allan and his ex-wife were getting a divorce at the time. And in order to, deal with the tragic separation of her parents, she decided to take his daughter into therapy. According to other documents, Allan himself was taking therapy because he was suffering from depression. He was also very wealthy. There's not enough documentation on how he was how he was financially stable, but he did have other business ventures that gave him the income in order to provide himself and his family with a lavish lifestyle. The most interesting part about this case is that Allan's therapist was actually Maria Alejandra's father. So there's a lot of conspiracy theories based on this case that the father had some sort of insight into Allan, and that's how Maria got to meet him, and all these other traits. But
oh, wow, it's messy.
Based on the concrete evidence, Allan was going to therapy for his depression and alcoholism, and due to the fact that he couldn't actually work. So all the money he was gaining was through his ventures, and that's basically all that comes up when I researched this case. But after being with her therapist, Allan's daughter was told to bring her father into a consultation. Mind you, this was the third session that they had together, and Maria Alejandra had asked the daughter to bring her father in order to further talk about the diagnosis and her daughter's sessions
normal,
or whatever.
Right?
So I don't know how normal it is. That's why I'm letting you talk on this behalf, because I don't know how this works when it comes to child therapy.
Yeah, it's normal, especially when you're working with kids, for you to bring in the parents just to get a different perspective and just to
and like further analyze it,
help,
I'm assuming,
like support the parents and teach the parents what you're working on with the kids so that they can reinforce it at home.
Oh, okay, noted. Okay, so see, that's why this was important, because I'm like, I have no idea how this works. But after the third session, the daughter brings Allan into the consultation, and that, according to different sources, Allan and Maria Alejandra just hit it off right away, and they became very, close, and they started talking to each other more often. And within like a session or two,
that is not normal.
Yeah, after a session or two, they Maria Alejandra told the daughter that that they couldn't see each other anymore because it was just conflict. So they ended their sessions there. However, shortly after they started their dating life and cutting the connection between the daughter and the therapist, they actually moved really quickly into their relationship. Margarita, who is Allan's sister, commented during trial that, quote, "Nos dijo que en una semana se iban a casar. E incluso en esta ocasión, ella, que viene siendo María Alejandra, comentó que al parecer estaba embarazada y que la boda se iba a celebrar en un lunes siguiente de que habían conocido a la familia, pero que solo iba a asistir su familia de ella, que ellos y que algunos de sus amigos íntimos y los hijos de Alejandra. But other than that, nobody else was invited to the wedding." Mind you, they met shortly after they canceled the sessions between the daughter, and within a week of meeting 2 weeks after meeting the family, they were going to get married, and that Maria Alejandra was pregnant. So I don't know how normal that is, but
it's not.
It's not normal.
No. This psychologist needs her own therapy.
Right. Well, you'll see. After being together and getting married, the relationship seemed normal from the outside. There was no, any altercation or any sort of issues within the relationship. So for them, it all kind of just seemed normal from the outside. However, in 2014, when Maria Alejandra started to have these suspicions that Allan was actually cheating on her, she was looking through his phone and found compromising text messages, and that enraged her. According to different court documents, that was the reason for her to begin planning his death.
That jumped real quick.
Yes. According to the Attorney General office, Maria Alejandra was, a psychiatrist or a psychologist, so she had very she had accessibility to different prescriptions. And based on this, she actually gathered sleeping pills and began putting those sleeping pills into the tea that she would give Allan. These pills, according to what I read, these pills would make him like drowsy and confused and, sleepy during the process. So during the time that she was planning his death, she kept giving him these medications in order to keep him confused and like not aware of what he was like doing or what was happening. Based on DNA examinations, authorities found that she was constantly giving these medications for a prolonged amount of time. And I guess it doesn't say how long she was doing this, but I'm assuming a week. And at the end of the week, she actually stabbed him with a knife. After stabbing him, she used one of his chainsaws that he had in the home and mutilated his body. After mutilating the body, she put different body parts in black plastic bags and left them in the home. On November 6th, those bodies' parts were found throughout Mexico City. And the only reason that these body parts were found was because of the odor that it was releasing. According to the court documents, they're not sure from what point he was murdered and how long those bags were in the home and when they were disposed into the city. Based on text messages, they said that the last quote-unquote real contact that their family had with Allan was on October 31st, 2014. But after that date, they continued to receive very cryptic messages about him leaving out of town, or that he found another woman and that he regretted marrying Maria Alejandra and he was going to get a divorce. Other text messages were saying that he was flying out of the country. So as of October 31st, they don't know if those messages were manufactured by Maria Alejandra or were there actually messages from Allan. After the body parts were found and the authorities got back with the proper DNA of the torso, they got a warrant to look through Allan and Maria Alejandra's home. A forensic examination of the home showed that there was traces of blood on the wall and pieces of bone fragment in the carpet. According to further examination, there was also bits of flesh in their bathroom. But still, the most curious part of this whole case is that they couldn't find certain limbs that belonged to the body. When the examiners looked through a mysterious bucket that was left in one of the rooms, they found Allan's head, his hand, and his feet inside a plastic bag next to the electric saw. After distributing the body parts throughout the city and texting the family members and friends through Allan's phone, Maria Alejandra tried to divert the investigation by checking herself in to a psychiatric clinic. She told officials that she had become paranoid and she believed that the police wanted to take her. So she stayed in the psychiatric clinic up until November 5th. One of the clues that allowed detectives to conclude that Maria Alejandra was behind her husband's disappearance was that they looked at the security guards' log of their gated community. And the notes on November 5th, guards indicated that Maria Alejandra had called the booth at 12:45 in the morning and asked the security guards if they could help her put a red suitcase in the trunk of her car. Based on court documents, the guards declared that she looked very nervous and suspicious while looking at her surroundings when pushing the red suitcase into her trunk. They also asked what she was carrying in the suitcase because it was very heavy. She responded that it was surgical equipment that had belonged to her father and that she was going to take them to the hospital because she was very sick and her father was actually going to provide surgery for her at the hospital and she needed to take his equipment in. She left and returned shortly after at 4:18 a.m. And according to the securities, she never registered coming out of the home. So as of the moment that she mutilated and murdered the body, she checked herself into the clinic from maybe November 1st to November 5th. And then on November 6th is when they found Allan's mutilated body throughout Mexico City. According to documentation, she had planned all of this from the moment that she found those compromising text messages.
Entonces lo que ella quería hacer era usar esto de que she checked herself in to make it seem like, see, I was in the clinic. I couldn't have done this because I was there for 5 days.
Exactly.
That's crazy. That's scary. That's a
It's
whole other
terrifying.
brain. That's just...
It's terrifying. But if you put it into perspective, she herself is a psychologist.
That's
So
the scary part.
So she is thinking 4 steps ahead in order to provide an alibi, to provide like different like storylines in order to cover her traces. Like, this isn't something that just happens to somebody that decides to murder somebody and like thinks it's an accident or was like a crime of passion or anything. This person is far more intelligent at you know, providing these sort of like criminal crimes. I don't know how to provide it in a better words.
There's a lot of access to things.
Exactly. It's because she's a psychologist, because she knows the mind, because she's actually studied this. It's insane.
Y, I mean, I don't know if you're going to say it later on, pero ella explicaron por qué she checked herself into the clinic?
Yeah, so according to the documentation base that she had provided, the clinic was that she was paranoid. And she was saying that she had hallucinations, that police were actually gonna, take her away from her home. Yeah.
Okay.
So she was very vague on how she was saying that, but she just basically used her psychology background in order to provide a storyline that would fit into that narrative.
She knew what symptoms to identify, like what to tell them, para que le diga, okay, we're gonna keep her here for a while. She knew what she was saying.
Yeah, completely. But the most, I guess, cryptic part of all of this is that based on the investigation, in the end of 2011, Maria Alejandra was actually charged with attempted homicide against her ex-husband. So she was married previously, and she tried killing her ex-husband. She tried killing him with a knife after an argument. She said that based on her, the defense attorney, she did this because her ex-partner was abusive. So she used it as a defense mechanism.
Like self-defense.
Yeah. So the judge acquitted the case because of the self-defense argument. The judge decided to give her a less sentence. Yeah. So in fact, she was reduced from an actual charge to 1 year in prison. Yet, she kept her license.
That's why I was like, wait, they should... Oh,
yeah.
Right. Okay.
But here's better news for this. Shortly after being sentenced and gone to prison and served her sentencing, she actually went into a domestic violence organization and began to share her services to help those women who were part of domestic violence, and eventually went into domestic violence, like children that had suffered domestic violence in their home, and narrowed her way down to adolescents and teens who were suffering from different mental illnesses. And that gave her the entryway to meet Allan's daughter after she got her own clinic in Mexico City. So you see the pattern of how she made her way into Allan's life. Apart from that, the interesting part is that there was a 2-year gap between when she was sentenced, when she was serving her sentence, and the time she met Allan. Between those 2 years, there was actually a moment that kind of makes this story a little bit more interesting. There was an incident where a head, hands, and feet were found in a bucket outside of Maria Alejandra's home. This oddly sounds suspicious to how Allan's head, feet, and hands were found. According to investigators, she had made a call to authorities about this bucket that was outside of her home. But according to records, authorities couldn't identify who that person was. So they said, they couldn't really figure it out, and dismissed the whole case and didn't even acknowledge her as being a suspect within the investigation. So they just let it, it didn't happen. Just forgot about it. But according to records, it's still in documentations that same bucket, head, feet, and hands were found outside of her home prior to meeting Allan.
Wow.
I know.
This just sounds like it's insane.
It sounds like a horror movie.
It does.
Criminologista María Tiscareño told ADN 40, quote, "Yo pienso que sabía lo que iba a hacer y no quería dejar huellas. Y nuevamente repito, como es psicóloga, tiene conocimiento de criminalística." According to the same criminologist, she also says that this is a pattern for her. The same way she tried to kill her ex-husband, the suggestion that she probably committed a murder before killing Allan, and then killing Allan the same way she was trying to kill her ex-partner, and the bucket that was found outside of her home. According to the same criminologist, she suggests that this wasn't her first crime. She suggests that Maria Alejandra might have been a serial killer, and there's many more victims that we have yet to discover.
Porque la forma de que lo hizo, it just sounds very planned, like she knew what she was doing. It wasn't
exactly
like self-defense, like how she said with her first ex-husband.
It
was planned.
Yeah, it shows that she had everything. She had an intention. Mm-hmm. She had a way of manipulating the system and basically cover her tracks in any way that she could.
Desde un principio, she was a walking red flag. For her to fall in love with her client's dad, I'm like, girl.
Yeah, no. Red flag number one.
No, girl, Y lo que su papá lo estaba viendo a él. Come on.
Yeah. It all sounds very suspicious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, there was much more that meets the eye. During court testimony, Maria Alejandra claimed that she had been repeatedly beaten by her husband. Then her lawyer claimed that she was mentally ill and had hallucinations at the time of the murder, that she wasn't in her sixth sense when she was committing the murder. But based on medical testing and their own reviews on Maria Alejandra's mental health, doctor says that she was perfectly sane and was fully aware of what she was doing. Although it took 8 long years to come to this conclusion, Maria Alejandra Lafuente Casco was sentenced to 46 years in prison, along with 6 more months, from the murder of her partner, Allan Carrera Cuellar. According to court records, she must also pay for damages and funeral expenses of her ex-spouse. Although we don't know what drove Maria Alejandra to commit this horrendous murder, we do know that Allan didn't deserve this. As of 2022, there's no further information on any updates on the case or the previous suspicious murder that happened prior to Allan's death, but that has a similar connection to Maria Alejandra. But all we do know...
¿Y no pudieron agarrar las huellas de lo que encontraron en esa bucket? Like, nothing came... I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just like...
No, it's fine.
That they just didn't find anything.
From what I had read and from different articles that I had to, go through, there was no indication that the police did anything to further investigate it.
That's crazy.
I don't know if the body was too far from like decomposition where they could identify the body
puede ser.
or anything. There's like literally no information on what happened to that case. But they just know that there was that weird connection between Maria Alejandra
Está muy raro. Yeah.
And at first they thought it was just a regular call in about like, finding this body there. But other than that, they just don't know what happened, which is completely insane to me because it's after you see how Allan was, murdered and what happened with her ex-partner, it all kind of correlates to like a pattern, which is bizarre. Once again, our hearts go out to Allan's family, as well as to anybody who has been affected or was involved in the case in order to get justice for Allan. Again, some of these cases can be prevented. And if you look further information on this case, there's a lot of conspiracy theories based on what happened. But as of now, we can only talk about what we know. But our hearts go out to Allan's family, to his daughters, and to anybody who has been affected. This is the tragic case of Allan Carrera Cuellar. Y este fue el caso de esta semana. I know it's a little bit of a weird case, and trust me, going through all the research and trying to piece it all together, it was all very strange and bizarre. And like if you guys really want to, you guys can look for the case. It's really interesting, but it's definitely quite the mystery.
Y te pones a pensar porque, o sea, like, ya no puedes confiar en nadie, right? No puedes. No. It's so crazy that just to think how many other kids were working with this psychologist con Maria Alejandra. Esos papás que se dieron cuenta, mi hija estuvieron en ese mismo cuarto con esta persona.
Yeah.
Like, they're trusting her, and for her to do this, like, that's crazy.
But what kind of like puts this like mind-boggling aspect in my brain is like, I've gone to therapy and I've taken like these, of course every person is human and we all make mistakes and stuff, but to realize that the possible therapist that you had is a murderer, and the way that she murdered this person and the previous crimes that she had committed prior to murdering her husband, it's like, you went into the wrong field. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And it's like taking like their own knowledge of what they studied into this dark and twisted way. It's insane.
It is.
Yeah.
Y luego lo que se me hizo raro, que, I mean, I guess because it was, dijo con el esposo, I don't know what the ex, que era self-defense, pero todavía la metieron en la cárcel por 1 año, and she still kept her license.
Yeah.
That's what I was like.
It's insane.
She shouldn't have gone, at least, I don't know. Now that we know what she did, we're like, she shouldn't have gone back into the field.
Yeah, but like to me, it's like there's only so much that I could say about this case, but like it's insane that she still kept her license. When I found that out that she still actually went into prison and still kept her license after being in this domestic violence case or assault or whatever you want to, possible homicide. It's insane that this psychologist kept her fucking license. It's insane. And to me, it's like this could have easily been prevented. This whole thing.
Y es lo triste, porque ella, aquí este es un caso de que aprovechó del control del poder que ella tiene. Porque entró Allan vulnerable. Right, he's going through his own emotions, his own experience with his ex-wife, all of the divorce and all of this. He came into a situation where he was very vulnerable, right? And he was seeking the help of a professional to help his daughter. She took advantage of this situation.
Yeah. I completely 100% get that. It's like she took this vulnerable person, like, withered her way in, got what she wanted, married this rich man that could provide a luxury lifestyle because, he did have money.
Dinero, yeah.
And then somehow deranges from this whole situation to murdering her husband over compromising text messages. It's insane. But the fact that she had a pattern prior to this is even more bizarre.
Ya si hubiera venido, hubiera dicho, oh, that was also self-defense. Girl, that is not self-defense. You mutilating a body? No, girl, that's not self-defense. No.
That literally does not justify anything. And the fact that she tried to play I'm mentally ill, it's like, really? I'm sorry, what?
I'm like, girl, you know they're gonna assess you.
Yeah.
But again, being in the field, she probably pensó, I can lie and
get away with it.
I know what to say.
But the judge was like, no, you knew exactly what you were doing. It's crazy.
Ay, Maria.
No.
But yeah, our hearts go out to the families.
Definitely.
No, we don't deserve that.
But again, we want to hear from you guys. So we will leave a question box on our Spotify where you can, leave your opinions, your thoughts, what you think about this case. You can all just type it in there. Our DMs are also open if you want to send us a message or leave a comment. You can find us on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter, or as it's known now as X, or on Threads. Just type in SVSM_podcast, or go on Facebook and type So It's My God Podcast, and we should be the first ones to pop up. And yeah, leave us a DM, leave us a comment. We will reply to them as soon as we can. Or if you want to have conversations with other people in the comment section, that would be fucking amazing for us, because we want to have an open dialogue when it comes to these cases. So and if you want to listen to the other 109 episodes, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and wherever you stream podcasts. Just type in So It's My God Podcast, and our discography, our catalog should pop up. Sorry, we're not singers.
I wish.
I don't. But so you can just search us in the webs.
Yep.
But yeah,
YouTube.
if you and YouTube. Completely forgot. You can see this. You could stream this episode on YouTube. You could see our faces. And you just type in So It's My God Podcast, and our page should pop up. We have, what is it? How many episodes do we have on YouTube by any chance? Do you know?
I think like 5.
5? Okay. So we have 5 episodes. You can go ahead and leave comments there too. I always forget YouTube because we haven't done YouTube in almost, 100 episodes. So this is still new to me. But yeah, we're on YouTube. Anything else? Anything I'm forgetting?
I think that's it. You got everything.
Okay. I do want to mention 2 things. There is a wonderful Netflix documentary that if you're interested, you can watch. It's called The Guardian of the Monarch. It is a documentary about the case that happened in Michoacan, about an activist who was very prone into trying to save the environment and the monarchs from going extinct, and the tragic case that happened to Homero Gomez. That's been going around on TikTok a lot these past couple of days, and it just landed on Netflix. So please watch it. Let us know what you think of it. I would have really loved to cover that case, but I think it's very heartbreaking, and I don't know if I'm ready to do that. So I recommend that case. Also, what was the other thing? I can't remember. Forgot. I should have wrote that down.
It'll come
I
back
can't
to you.
remember. It'll come back to me.
Back to
Once
you.
I remember, I'll post about it on our socials. But yeah, if you have any comments, any suggestions on any episodes that we should cover, please let us know. We're constantly looking for topics and for cases. And yeah.
It's 6 videos on
anything else?
YouTube. Sorry. I had
6
to confirm.
videos.
6. Son 6.
So 6.
Tenemos 6 videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. This will be the 7th.
We have 6 episodes. This will be the 7th
Yeah.
video. So be prepared. I don't know. Is there anything else?
No, I
anything
think
else that
that's
we
it.
need to cover?
No,
That's it, right?
that is it.
Yeah. So for now, that will be it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please rate, review, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I don't know. That's it, right? I don't. Have a great weekend. And yeah.
Yeah, eso es todo. Yeah.
We're halfway through May. We're halfway through May.
Oh my god. I feel
we're
like
getting-
Christmas is like around the corner.
I can't believe it.
I'm
It's
just
May.
like, how can
To
this
think-
be going by so fast?
To think that I was just complaining about January and it's already May. But yeah,
El tiempo
in the
está
meantime,
muy rápido. Muy rápido.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the meantime, let us know what you
Stay
think.
safe out there.
And stay safe, stay hydrated, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, nos vemos la próxima semana.
Bye.
Adiós.
Stay spooky.
Okay.